We gon' run it, hit the field, blast off, watch them all fall. This is AFC North Talk. Got me hype, it's about to be a touchdown. Got the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and the Browns. Are you listening? It's time to get it hype. Tune in when the season poppin'. Yeah, we going live. Hey, knock 'em out. Ay, first down, going hard. Yes, indeed. AFC North Talk. Let's go. Hey, AFC North Talk.
Welcome to AFC North Talk. I am Ace Boogie representing the Bengals. We got Quincy Carrier representing the Browns, Sonny representing the Ravens, and our man Tony representing the Steelers. Before we get into this cornerback ranking show, Tony, we're going to clear the floor for you to make a special announcement for the people. So with that being said, Go ahead and take it away, brother.
It's a very special announcement for all the Bengals, Ravens, and Browns fans who love me so much. Well, there's no easy way to say this. Next week's show of AFC North Talk will be my last. But it's not, and I don't want this to sound like I'm leaving AFC North Talk, because I don't enjoy doing the show, or obviously still enjoy doing the show. Love the guys. I am leaving all podcasts. I am essentially. It's a stupid word to use because we're not professionals.
Retire? Are you retiring?
Yeah, exactly. I'm retiring from pod. What a stupid thing to say. I
can see it. It's like a silhouette with the light in the background, and Tony's walking off with his coat and his big ass hat. All you can see is the shadowy silhouette.
I should have prepped this better. I should have had props going. Obviously, we got to bring the big hat in if we're gonna just to take the segment seriously. No, I think for me, for everyone who's followed me, before I did this show, I did Locked On Steelers. I left that show 2 years ago. When I left that show, I didn't really intend on doing another show. But obviously, we kind of hooked up. And I love doing this show. So it's well, guess what? I'm doing another podcast now. But I don't know. I have the perception of myself that I don't enjoy football as much as an analyst or as I would as a fan. I mean, I've been podcasting for 15 years. So the last game I watched purely as a fan, not as someone who's okay, and then you're going to talk about this on a show. The last game I watched that way, 2007 Jaguars Steelers playoff game. David Garrard and Ben Roethlisberger, your quarterbacks. Najee Davenport and Maurice Jones-Drew, your running backs, right? That's how long it's been since I've watched a Steeler game as a pure
Wait,
fan.
Maurice Jones-Drew was on the Steelers?
No, Maurice Jones-Drew was the Jaguars.
Okay.
Najee Davenport was the Steelers.
Najee Davenport was the Steelers running back then.
I can't even remember him as a running back for the Steelers.
I remember Najee.
He's the best Najee y'all have had at running back.
Oh, wow. That's okay. I'm going to, you know what? Disrespect. I'm leaving the show. No, and again, this is not me leaving AFC North Talk because I love this show. I have so much respect for all the hosts here. And one of the things I love about this show is not obviously our camaraderie, I think, has been awesome. But I really respect all the fans who watch this show because the thing about the current landscape of talking head TV type stuff is if you want to live in in this kind of echo chamber where you hear people who say exactly what you think, there's a show for you, right? If you want to hear about how your team is the best team and it has no flaws and you're going to win the Super Bowl every single year. I mean, we all know the people who cover our teams who are just straight up pom, go rah, go team, right? I mean, we are the opposite of that. And if you opt into watching this show, right, you are opting into watching your team for 3/4 of the time, your team is being trash talked, right? I mean, how our show operates, and that's what I've loved about this show so much is that we all hold each other accountable in that way. So I'm gonna miss it, but I kind of want to just, I don't know. I have this desire. I've had it since the draft. It started at the draft where I was like, man, I really would like to watch the draft as a fan. And so I don't know. I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna take a year off, and then we'll see what happens. But yeah, next week, last show. Appreciate it.
It's funny too because you say we hold each other accountable. I swear, some weeks nobody hates your team more than the person who represents the team, because we've all had weeks where we hate our team on this show, and then the fans of our team that came here for us get mad at us because we're like, nah, bro, I'm tired of y'all telling me this don't stink. They peeing in my face right now. You telling me it's great? I'm so sick of it.
Yeah.
Ace had all the moments up until they got Jamar Chase, right? Oh, that last part in 2020, he was down bad. Sonny has it every time John Harbaugh makes a key decision in the football game.
Yeah.
Whether it works out or not, he usually hates whatever decision he makes. Me, every time I look at the Browns defense over the last 3 years, and Tony, every time he's had to look at or think about that Steelers offense, especially them couple years where they just didn't have Ben.
Well, the Duck Hodges season, yeah.
Oh yeah. See, no, you lived in the Duck Hodges.
I did love the Duck Hodges season.
You lived. And then there was Fire Matt Canada into the sun. I don't know when that happened.
No, that's still, that's that's ongoing at this point. But there was before Matt Canada, it was Randy Fichtner. It was the Randy Fichtner time. People forget about Fichtner.
I would say we tallied it up. We spent probably a proportionate time hating on every team. Like every host probably
yeah.
Well, with that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and get into our cornerback rankings. You guys know the deal. It's going to be 4-1. We're going to give our thoughts on it. So we can kick this off we'll go with Sonny. Sonny, who is your number 4 team for the cornerback room in the AFC?
Watch yourself here, Sonny.
So Tony, before we were starting this, you were saying like, how are we gonna rank this, right? Like you were saying, like you don't know 1, 2, 3, and legitimate. I don't know. I was looking at this rosters, thinking like, damn. I feel like years past there was more of a clear 1 or 2. The AFC North has had better corner rooms, in my opinion, years past than this year. You can argue there's a little bit more depth, maybe, than years past. But the top talent is not as much there. But that being said, saying all that, even the team that I got up for 4, which I'm already laughing.
Come on.
I think it could be better, but it is the Steelers. It was the easiest one to rank, in my opinion, for 4-1. Now for 3-1, basically they're all toss-ups for me, but. You're bringing Mr. Peters, P2 over there.
Yeah, no, not Mr. Peters. No. Marcus
Peterson.
Peterson. Patrick Peterson.
Yeah. It's P3. This is third team. You know what I mean? This is P3.
Let's not get him mixed up with a different Peters who is bad.
Yeah, he's in Oakland now. The other one.
He's in Vegas.
He's in Vegas. Yeah.
That's about it for him.
That's the gamble.
Yeah.
That's a great.
And much like a stay in Vegas too long.
You think Pat Mahomes is excited to have him there in the division?
He's gonna get one of them interceptions. He's just gonna get burnt like 6 times. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Anyway, so it's not like the Steelers corners are bad, right? So I'm curious to see how P2 fits, and how well he plays, because he wasn't bad last year for the Vikings. So and then you have Sutton, and then you have who's the Peninsula?
No, Sutton's gone. Cam Sutton's gone.
Yeah, no, it's Joey Porter Jr. and it's James Pierre pretty much after that, right?
Well, the Porter Jr. is interesting, right? Because Porter Jr., I feel like I don't know, Tony, you will tell me how they're using it in camp, but the idea, and the Ravens and the Bengals have been doing this in the past. I mean, the Ravens have done it forever. The Bengals, I know, have been doing it for the past couple of years. They draft a guy early, not to start, but to be behind a veteran guy that this young guy is eventually gonna replace, right? And I think that's the idea behind P2 there. To have Joey Porter learn, basically playing special teams, maybe snaps here and there, but special teams for the most part, and have him learn under P2 in the peninsula. Because we don't have an island anymore. You have a peninsula there. He being the second corner.
Levi Wallace is the second corner.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm missing your shirt. Where's your shirt, Tony? You
the
have
Levi
to wear
Wallace
the corner short.
But it's fine.
Anyway,
Levi Wallace.
For the
Just
Steelers,
someone go to just real quick. Just someone go to the AFC North division by corner and just sort by interceptions and just let me know who is at the top. Sorry,
I'm sorting by Pro Football Focus grade, and it says he's 68 out of 118.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can only trust PFF grade. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's the number one authority on all sports.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I think the Steelers have the opportunity. Obviously,
if
Joey Porter hits, it's going to be huge for them, right? Because then you have the young corner moving forward. This year, like I said, who knows? He might come and he might be great and push P2 out of the rotation, right? By some point during the season. But as right now, like I said, it's going to be interesting how this team plays, how I don't know. I think that the depth is there. As I was talking, I think all teams have depth. So none of these teams are going to be one corner, they had nobody, right? But for that reason, I think the Steelers had the most question marks. Potentially, like I said, I did like Joey Porter carving out of the draft. So I think Joey Porter is going to be a good corner moving forward. And I don't think, the thing is, I don't think this year, and if I'm not mistaken, Tomlin's not a guy to love playing the rookies.
So they're going to start Pat Pete and Levi Wallace, is what you're saying?
It's unclear right now who starts.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the top two going into camp.
Well, Porter's gotten a ton of first team reps. The question is,
is he? Okay.
Yeah. Could you put Pat P in the slot though?
That's a likely scenario in some situations. Yeah.
What about Levi Wallace in the slot?
No, Levi Wallace cannot play in the slot. You want him on the outside. Trust me.
It's been that bad.
No, I mean he's a good corner, but you just don't want him in. You just don't want him in space.
Yeah. So anyway, I have them at fourth. Not a terrible.
Pat P ain't gonna hold up in the slot at 37.
Not a terrible room.
He's
but
not 37.
my whole point with every room, I think all the rooms are not as solid as previous years, right? That will be my thing going forward. But anyway, so yeah, Steelers fourth.
All right, before we toss it to Tony, I'm going to get some super chats out the way here. So the first one from Firepile, $129 for $2, says today is 8 years, 9 months, and 13 days since 1989.
Is that when you were born, Firepile?
That is
I don't know.
Hold on.
That's not accurate.
That is not even close.
Oh, that is true. That is very far from accurate.
It is 1997.
It must be some kind of joke, man.
I don't know.
I'm not understanding it. I wish I understood.
Oh, wait. Is that, wait. I think Taylor Swift has a 19.
Oh, is it 19? Oh, Sonny got it. Sonny's the Swift
that has to be
the podcast. We forgot.
That has to be it.
The real reason he's rushing over to the States is because he's trying to catch the butt end of this.
Yeah, that's right. You coming down to Miami for the tour? She announced it.
Now I understand why I get it. Player of the review here with a super chat for $2. Appreciate that. No more hero Tony. Looks like he's gonna be sad. Another one that's gonna be sad.
Hey man, if I'm a Steelers fan this year, don't let the Browns be good and the Steelers be bad and nobody here to protect you. You know what I mean? This is like if Batman got arrested and all the villains just got to roam Gotham. You know what I mean? Like we about to run wild.
Yeah, Steeler fans, you got nothing to worry about there.
Look, if you go under 500 this year and Tony's not on the show, blame Tony. You know what I mean? You were 500 every year that Tony was on the show.
That's true. The Steelers have not gone under 500 since I've been a podcaster. So
there you go.
So it wasn't Mike Tomlin this whole time. It was Tony giving them hot tips on the podcast every week.
That's right. Where's Well, I mean, listen, I want to be paid for it. I want to. Yeah, he's got to.
And us saying that
You're worth Matt Canada's salary. You know what I mean?
At least
us saying that they were going to win 6 games. I think we stopped making that mistake.
No, one of you will do it again this year. One of you will do it again.
We all learned our lesson.
One of you will do it this year.
We've been doing this 3 years. Each one of us has learned that lesson each year.
By the way,
Look, dog.
I do want to say, just because I'm leaving the show doesn't mean I'm not going to watch the show. Certainly, I'm going to watch the show. I
He's gonna be trolling in the
the
chat.
difference. Yeah, the difference will be that I won't get a fourth of my super chat trolls back every month.
By the way, there's a breaking news here. Ravens have made a contract offer to former first
Somebody old
pass rusher, your boy,
Davion
Clowney.
for Justina Anderson.
Let's go.
Hey, Raven fans, have fun. Have fun with the cloudy experience.
I would like to go back to my edge rankings after they signed him and re-rank the Ravens 5.
Who has more sacks? Odafe Owe and Jadeveon Clowney. It's going to be the craziest race to 5 sacks you'll ever see in the NFL.
All right, Brandon Welker here for $5 says we're gonna miss you, Tony. Hope you enjoy watching the Bengals destroy y'all twice this season.
Watch out! Those were close games last year. Those were some close games last year. Actually, the first one was
of the militia, Cleveland Browns, 8 times champs for $4.99. Puppet Q, we don't accept you in the Browns. Come on, man, what is that?
Get him off.
Hey, nah, we're not answering that. My bad. I should be able to put that on the screen.
Get him off.
Yeah, we're not gonna trash.
I'll take the $5 though.
Yeah,
appreciate the $5.
Yeah.
TS
Really
1989 for $2 says let's manifest together 1989 TV announcement tonight. Then we got our buddy Nova Stone for $2. Appreciate that. Says Marlins overrated, never gets picks, and unappreciated. Okay.
What?
Wait.
I don't understand that. Isn't that like an oxymoron?
Yeah, the last thing doesn't jive with the rest.
It's been a thing. Nova Stone, dog, are you okay? Like the super chats the last 3 weeks have been just all over the place, brother. Like, I don't know what to do with this.
Brady retired. He doesn't know what to do.
If Brady has retired, that's broke my man's brain. Like, I don't think he knows what to do right now. Like, how long until he's like, you know what? Joe Burrow reminds me a lot of Tom Brady. Like, that's my prediction. It's going to jump to Joe Burrow. Happen. Yeah. Joe Burrow's going to have a comeback in like week 8. And he's like, you know what? He's just like Tom.
Remember, he's a Purdy guy.
All right, we're going to toss it now to Tony. Who's your number 4?
Number 4. Well, the corner room. This is. We might have saved this for last because this is. I imagine this is going to cause some controversy every ranking. Who's 1? I don't even know right now who I'm going to rank 1. I don't even know who I'm going to rank. I do know who I'm going to rank 3 actually.
3.
Yeah. The most talented team. I'm ranking 3. I'm ranking the most talented team 3, and we'll talk about why. Number 4 for me is my Steelers. Like I'll hoot and holler about it, but at the end of the day, like let's be honest, the Steelers are the number 4 corner room. I think Sonny, you hit on it there, right? It's probably just too early for this group. They're clearly better this year. Just like the idea that Joey Porter could work out is a long-term answer that the Steelers have at outside corner that they haven't had in a while. We've talked about this a lot on the show, right? That the Steelers continue to like kick the can on getting like a true number 1 corner on the outside for a long time. I mean, since Joe Hayden left the team. And then before Joe Hayden, it was the same thing, right? It was like you go from Ike Taylor, then there's like this dearth of no number 1 corner. Then Joe Hayden gets signed. He's that guy for a while. But even at the end of his career, right? I mean, he wasn't the same Joe Hayden. Then he retires. And again, you go back to like, well, we're going to make it work with a room full of number 2s. It's a credit to Mike Tomlin. It's a credit to the way that he designs the defense that this team didn't fall off a cliff in those years, right? When they didn't have a number 1 corner. But I do think it's exciting that they have Joey Porter. I can't wait to watch him play. We'll see if he starts. I would imagine he'll definitely play this year, especially in like nickel and dime situations, when they could just put him on the outside on obvious passing. Now, does he start in run situations? I don't know. But Patrick Peterson, I think, I'm excited to see what Pat P can do. Here's the thing about Patrick Peterson, right? We do this whole thing. We're like, well, Patrick Peterson at 32, can you really trust him in certain situations? And okay, I agree with that. And that was a fun thing to say back in like March when they signed him. But at the end of the day, Mike Tomlin's his coach, right? I mean, like, are we saying that Mike Tomlin's going to put this guy out there in, disadvantageous situations? I mean, the same thing happened with Joe Hayden at the end of his career, where it's like, well, Joe could be a real liability. Yeah, but Tomlin's going to cover that up. Right now, it could cause some issues elsewhere in the defense, but I don't see Pat Pete as being like this massive liability. And then Levi Wallace led this division in interceptions last year. All corners in the division, no one had more interceptions than Levi Wallace. I mean, he is a very savvy player. He's exactly the kind of corner that Mike Tomlin loves, because he does have that kind of understanding, that situational awareness. What he doesn't have, what Levi Wallace does not have, is speed. Levi Wallace got cooked a couple times last year, and especially in that Buffalo game. I think it was the game as well. Those back-to-back games were not great. But remember, I mean, look, this is a Steelers secondary last year that, while I would agree that they were, they're the number 4 team going into this unit, or into this year, they had the most interceptions. I mean, they were kind of a feast or famine type of unit. And I think that's kind of what Tomlin wants out of this unit right now, is to, we're probably going to give up big plays. And we'll talk about the safety room next week, because I think they did upgrade that room a little bit just based on the big play stuff. But again, I think Tomlin's designing a defense right now that is more about turn the ball over, right? We're going to give up some big plays. This is the nature of the National Football League right now. But if you can turn the ball over at the clip the Steelers did, and again, they had 20 interceptions last year. I think that's kind of the way that they desire to build this room right now. Patrick Peterson, Levi Wallace, these are two guys who are, they can be ball hawks. They have that savvy. Obviously, we'll talk about Minka next week. The big question mark with the Steelers room is not at the outside. It's nickel. The nickel corner situation in Pittsburgh. Who starts there? Who the hell knows? Your guess is.
I got a dark horse for you.
Well, I would love to hear, because it's not going to be someone who you even know.
The
leader in the clubhouse. The leader in the clubhouse right now, according to reports out of camp, is Elijah Riley, who has had a good camp. But maybe Pat Pete moves inside. I mean, I think the interesting thing about the nickel corner position since they lost Hilton, and Mike Tomlin's talked a lot about this when it comes to how to build a defense. It's the Moneyball approach, right? You don't try to replace Mike Hilton by finding another guy who does all the things that Mike Hilton did well. You can't. Mike Hilton's one of the best nickel corners in the game. You can't do that. But what you can do is find multiple players who can fit in those situations. Find someone in blitz situations who is as good as blitzing as Mike Hilton was. Find someone in obvious run situations who's as good a run defender as Mike Hilton was. Find someone in obvious passing downs who's a good coverage, maybe even a better cover guy than Mike Hilton was. That's what the Steelers have done at nickel. I would imagine it's going to be that way this year, right? Like, Elijah Riley probably has the inside track at nickel, but I would imagine that Pat Pete's going to be there in obvious passing situations, that potentially Chandon Sullivan will be there when they want to play rundowns or blitzing, and then Elijah Riley can fill in. And I would imagine that's kind of how they're going to go at that. So it won't be a one-size-fits-all, but nickel corner is obviously, we're just like rating out the rooms. I mean, they have the worst nickel corner, and potentially, if you look at the corner room right now, because of the question marks around Joey Porter, and it's probably too early for him, I think you could probably say that they have, the quote-unquote least talent right now at the outside corner as well.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go with the Steelers here as well. I actually don't think the depth is bad, though. Like, there's a lot of questions and stuff like that, but I don't think that it's to the point where these are guys that haven't been prepared to kind of step into this kind of situation. You talk about Pat P, who had a great year last season after having a couple not so great ones. He was actually the third-ranked corner on the 33rd team's SIS rankings last year based on total points. He averaged about 4 total points of impact based on their EPA metric that they have over there. So he was extremely formidable last year is what I'll say there. Now, is he going to fall off a cliff? That's the question that you have. I'm not so sure. I think, cornerbacks, sometimes they age well, sometimes they age like milk. So it just really depends on what the situation is. But I think, like Tony is saying, the fact that he's in this defense with a guy like Tomlin, I'm sure that, either he's going to be a solid starter for you, or he's going to be a very good mentor for a guy like Joey Porter Jr., who's going to come in. The guy that I really liked that probably could have bumped him up a little bit for me, unfortunately, that went down with the injury, was Trice. Trice was just that was a great, I feel like, value pick for them in the draft. Corey Trice Jr. Was a good pick, 6'3" corner, 206. Unfortunately, he goes down, but you do have some size with Joey Porter Jr. He's 6'2", You've got James Pierre that's 6'2". So this corner room has some size to it, right? They just don't have a bunch of small guys or anything like that. The smallest guy is probably Chandon Sullivan at 5'11". So they're not a bad team. Like if we were ranking the NFL, I wouldn't put the Steelers I probably wouldn't put them in the bottom 10 or anything like that. I think they have solid guys that just need to prove themselves. So for me, they're 4 in this aspect, but I actually think that the depth is pretty good, and you got some pretty solid guys in there that have had some opportunities to start places. And if there is somebody that is injured, like we just saw with Trice as well, they have other guys that can step in as well. So, the corner room for the Steelers has always, for me, kind of been one that's like, yeah, you don't see a whole bunch of names, but they always play better than you kind of expect them to. And so that's what I kind of expect from this room. I think they'll be probably average to slightly above average this year in terms of their performance. But with that being said, Q, who you got at number 4?
Yeah, this isn't a bad room, but it's going to be the Steelers here at 4. I think that Joey Porter Jr., I think that's going to be as good as you can do with the rookie corner. I think Mike's probably going to do something fine with that. Like Tony said with Pat Peterson, like the one thing you don't want to see Pat Pete do at this point is like cover Jamar Chase one-on-one and man with no help, right? Like I don't think Tomlin's about to be like, all right, son, put him on an island. Like that's just not how he's about to get down, right? They're probably going to maneuver around that. And they have enough depth to be maneuverable in that secondary. I'm interested to see, because this is a play I really liked in the XFL. Luke Barku, he used to play for the San Antonio Brahmas, Hines Ward's team. He was a really good corner, one of the few guys who was able to get a handle on Josh Gordon. I thought his future in the NFL was going to be more of a slot because he was more of a tackler than he was a downfield coverage guy. Kind of had some good instincts and run defense shown in the XFL. So I'm interested to see if he gets more of an opportunity playing the slot as these preseason games happen. He gets actual game action. What he looks like, because he could be somebody interesting. And it seems like Mike Tomlin wasn't lying about watching the XFL, because I see familiar names all up and down this roster, right? John Lovett. You got the wide receiver there too from the Battle Hawks. I always forget his name. Did they cut him already?
Hakeem Butler. No, Hakeem Butler.
Hakeem Butler.
Oh, no, Hakeem Butler's there.
Hakeem Butler.
Not having a good camp.
And Kenny Robinson, original XFL. He was a college prospect, right? Draftable. Went 5th round out the XFL. So, yeah, Mike Tomlin, you can't question whether he loves football. Like,
oh, no. Kenny Robinson we'll talk about next week, because Kenny Robinson has Barku. Barku's going to have to beat out James Pierre. Obviously, James Pierre has been on this team for a while. Mm-hmm. Kenny Robinson has a legit chance of making the roster. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see. Yeah. He's so young, too. What, 24 still? Yeah. Like it's 30 year in the NFL. It's weird. But yeah, I think this is a fine room. If we weren't talking about, if the Bengals room wasn't like consistently as good as it's been without like the star power it's been, I feel like this would be a harder conversation. But since the Bengals room has been like really good for whatever reason, they just figure out something in that secondary every year, even though we look at it and go, Eli Apple, it's going to get cooked, or somebody like that. They figure out a way to make up some coverages to do well against a lot of teams. So yeah. I think this is going to be a pretty fine room. They're probably going to have a good amount of interceptions. You can see, like, even with Luke Barku, right? He was an interception guy in the XFL. Pat Pete. They want to go instincts, aggressive. They're probably going to be a team that the reason they invest so much on that defensive line so they can't get double moved, because when you're that aggressive, a double move is your death nail. Mm-hmm. So that's probably why they're investing so much in their defensive line, to not give these guys, to allow these guys to be a little bit more aggressive. And I think they'll be fine, because the defensive line's still good enough to allow them to do that, right? TJ Watt, he hasn't regressed that much, right? Just a little
got him.
bit.
Hey, clip that and send it to me, please.
Yeah, he's just regressed a little bit. And then Highsmith and Cam Hayward will be able to allow them to play the style that they need to get away with what they have there. I do worry a little bit, because sometimes they do want, like the Steelers do kind of used to play a lot of base, which leaves their linebackers a little vulnerable. And I would hope that they use more corners this year, but Mike Tomlin ain't changing. He's probably gonna have Poor old, what's his name? Keanu Neal out there. Well, not Keanu Neal.
Well, no,
Quan Alexander.
Yeah. Quan and Keanu, will play this year.
Quan will be covering a slot wide receiver at some point. You know what I mean? There will
that's
be a
true.
Tyler Boyd rep against Quan Alexander. But yeah, all in all, it's not a bad room. It's just the last room.
Definitely for sure. I'm going to go into some super chats. So Nova Stone here clarifies. He says Marlins overrated. Oh no, I'm sorry. Is that the old one?
That's the old one.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Hold on. Here we go. My Fire 924 for $2. Kingsbury / Brissett won a Super Bowl is better than Joey B.
What are these super chats today? Like, are they reacting to a different show?
No idea.
Are we getting somebody else's?
That's
Nova Stone for $2 says Marlon is unappreciated as no one in the NFL knows him. Nah.
Hey, the bank.
Everybody knows him.
The bank know him. Okay, that's who
I
knows
think Marlon is pretty well known.
Yeah, I think he's pretty well known. One blue.
Hey, you know who knows him? Odell Beckham, his teammate, who he choked out once.
They talk about it too.
I need to see that interview. That player's only interview. Like that's so. Why did you choke me and lie about it, Marlon?
One blue says Tony will miss you and miss Hill Tony even more. Thanks for years of entertainment. It's been fun. I hope the Steelers go 0-17 though. Go Bengals. Have a fun retirement, Tony.
Appreciate it. I can't wait for the Bengals to miss the playoffs this year.
Hey, if they go 0-17 to get Caleb Williams or Drake May, Tony might come back. You know,
we got another.
This is the year to suck.
8 and 9 is what you want them to do.
Wouldn't? Yeah, I mean,
let me see. Well, it looks like it might be one of them classes like 4 quarterbacks.
If Kenny Pickett has a 5-touchdown game, I think Tony might be back, dog. I think Tony might be back.
You guys, people keep saying this to me of like, well, if this happens, if that happens, you're coming back. Like, I promise you, it's going to be at least a year before I come back.
It's just funny that like there's no way Tony can lose. He picked this year to be strategic because they stink. Okay. You could fall into some of the greatest prizes college football has to offer in the last 5 years. If you win, okay, I get to do the Kenny Pickett was right victory lap. There's no
well, I think real talk, like I'm leaving one of the reasons why I'm leaving the show is that I don't want to have like the Steelers are a zag team, right? They are not trying to win the way the rest of the league is trying to win.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to enjoy that and not analyze it every week. I'm like, is this the right, are we sure this is the right way to win? Like, I don't give a shit. I kind of just want to watch the Steelers. I said this thing last year in like the Steelers bye week. I said like, I don't care if the Steelers, because they're saying they're going to have a winning streak at the end of last year. And I said, I don't care if they have a winning streak. The offense needs to play better, right? That's what I care about, which, looking back, like, hey, dumbass, how about you just enjoy that the Steelers went 7-2 down the stretch and don't care how many, whether that the Steelers were scoring 30 a freaking game. Anyway, I digress.
No, I understand for sure. Nova Stone with a $2 super chat had to get a Brady one in here. Tom is the most generous player and gave many QBs Super Bowls. Okay.
Is that what that Jacoby Brissett super chat was about?
It's got to be, right? Because Brissett won a. But hold on.
Brissett was a backup there for a couple of years.
Kingsbury was a coach on that team?
No, he wasn't.
On the Patriots?
Kingsbury was at Texas Tech.
He had to have been, right?
Yeah, unless Kingsbury played under, like, was one of Tom Brady's backups. That's the most likely scenario when he was in the league. But I don't think Cliff played for the Patriots.
I'm checking.
Yeah, when did Cliff Kingsbury win it? Because by the way, Cliff Kingsbury
in 04.
He was in the Patriots in 03.
Oh wow! So he is on the Johnny Manziel documentary, by the way. Which, by the way, Johnny Manziel documentary pretty good. Cliff Kingsbury's in it. It's a lot of fun. Cliff Kingsbury's like
Quincy's not gonna watch it now.
Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury basically is like the guy on there who's just like Johnny Manziel is the greatest football player of all time. If he, wasn't a maniac, that's basically his role on the show.
Cliff would know.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there's a long history of 5'10" quarterbacks being fantastic NFL players. So.
Well, with that being said, we'll go to number 3.
I don't think he said number 4.
No, he did. He said Steelers.
Yeah, everybody. It was Steelers all the way around. Steelers
Yeah,
all
we
day.
we swept, and it was all Steelers at 4. Note that.
Steelers at 4. Now we get into the fun part.
Sonny, before you go with number 3, let me just hit this bit here. It says he did not play his rookie season in 03, spending the year on the Patriots injured reserve with the arm injury. He did, however, get a Super Bowl ring.
Oh, he was a
That's
player.
the most
Oh, wait,
Cliff
hold on.
Kingsbury ring ever.
He was a rookie.
That one barb right there sums up Cliff Kingsbury's entire professional career. It just does.
Great.
Was on injured reserve, had literally nothing to do with it, got credit for it anyways. Cliff Kingsbury is the most fortunate man in the world. He's the most, he cannot fail. He fails forward all the time. I can't believe he's gonna get fired in Arizona and just get a job on the Patriots. I don't know how else can he fail forward. Is there more forward for him to go? He's gonna get the Eagles job or something like that after getting fired from
he's gonna be a great OC for the Steelers after they figure out the problem of Matt Canada.
You don't want him as an OC. Did he actually got to do his job? He's not good at his job. He's never been good at his job.
Great OC. Look, you don't understand, okay?
You'll get less out of Kenny Pickett.
Doubtful.
Ask Colin Murray how good he was at Texas A&M under Cliff Kingsbury.
All right.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Tony.
All right, number 3. Number 3. Which fan base should I piss off here? Because whoever gets put at 3 is going to feel disrespected. Because every single one of these teams has a legitimate argument that they should be the number 1 team in the division. I'm going to put them. I would put this team number 1 if I didn't take coaching into account. I'm going to put the Browns 3. The Browns are the most talented team. I would switch out the Steelers room for the Browns room in a heartbeat. And I get that Joe Woods was real bad last year, as Q has eloquently put on this show week after. You go to just click on
bro, that wasn't all Joe Woods, dog. I watched that. Like, that's cover 2, dog. Like, I keep telling people, you preach it to the choir. Like, that's not going to get fixed in 1 year. Like,
yeah, I mean, look, there was a point of last year where people were like debating whether or not, like, is Denzel responsible for some of these like completely blown coverages? That's how it's like, look, we all know Denzel Ward should be a perennial all-pro corner. This is one of the most talented cornerbacks in the National Football League. It's not a question of the talent of Denzel Ward. But if you go back and watch some tape last year, there's arguments you made like this guy was out of sorts at times. Loved him. I think we all like Martin Emerson. I think we all liked him coming out. And then they have Greg Newsome. Now, here's the problem with Greg Newsome. This is part of the reason why I put him at 3. Q, can you let people know what number Greg Newsome's going to be wearing this year?
What's wrong with wearing 0?
He's going to wear 0.
You go knock him off the list because of 0?
I mean, this is
what number Joey Porter Jr. wear?
What are we doing? What are we doing in the National Football League that we're even letting people wear 0?
What number Joey Porter Jr. wear?
24.
Oh, they made him wear double digit.
A classic corner number. 24.
I feel like quarter numbers can be single digits. We seen it in college.
This is unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
He can't rock the 0.
I just can't. Now look, Jim Schwartz is going to be
to wear as a quarter though, because if you get burnt, that's a really recognizable number. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
like you get burnt, you like 30 something. We don't know who got burnt really if we not paying attention. But 0, oh, that's great.
I would probably, if I'm a corner, I'd probably want a number in the 40s, which is the worst number you can get, and we'll talk about that later. There is
a lot of defensive holding if you wear a number in the 40s.
Yeah, and some players in this league actually overcome the bad number that they're given. Anyway, I think Jim Schwartz will be a better D coordinator for the Browns. So I think there will be improvement in this room overall. But again, if I'm comparing the coaching, and you have to here because boy, I mean, how much of the coaching matters in Baltimore and Cincinnati, especially with these units. I got to give the edge to those units. So I'm going to have the Browns here 3. I would imagine there will be other people on this show who are going to have the Browns 1. And I'm not going to disagree on talent alone. So I have the Browns 3.
All right, let's go to Sonny.
I'll let Q because I think Q should respond to that rank.
Go ahead, Q.
Baltimore 2. Baltimore 3.
Should have gone.
Put Baltimore here at 3. I like Rocketson, but he's coming back from injury. I don't know if he's going to be the same player he was 2 years ago because he was really a solid, like kind of like physical quasi slot, can play a little outside, kind of like a Troy Hill a couple years ago. Really hasn't been that same dude in a little bit. Then you have Marlon Humphrey, who I think is a really good corner. Probably, if you had to say, the most consistent corner in the division, right? When you match up that talent with the consistency, he's been up there as much as anybody else. Damn, y'all got Arthur Vaulette. That's a blast. Is that?
Hey,
I don't think he will be playing much, but yeah.
Double
Who's
zero?
playing nickel
No
for that?
way. He's actually. They haven't given him a number on PFF. Who is this number 5 with the 28 grade on PFF?
Armour Davis. Yeah.
The audacity to wear a single digit number. It's
Armour Davis.
With a roster player.
That's
crazy.
He's been good in camp this year, but
Hold on,
last year, yeah.
Legitimately though, who is playing nickel corner right now for this team?
Is it Ardarius?
Ardarius is one. No. Or Ardarius. I think Ardarius probably leading, or Pepe Williams. I think it's between those two.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I was not hallucinating. That Arthur Molina.
There is the issue with them is Marlon Humphrey's there. Marcus Peters, who was up and down last year, is no longer there, and there's no real what's the plan to replace Marcus Peters, Sonny?
Rock you sin.
Rocketson.
Yeah,
it's Rocketson and Armour Davis, right? That's their goal.
Yeah, I'm not feeling that. That's that's just not hitting right to me. I'm sorry. Rocketson's more of a supplemental piece. I don't think you should have him as that's our Marcus Peters replacement or big part of your Marcus Peters replacement. And in the overall depth in this room, I just don't love it. And I think this secondary had some real issues last year, especially when it came to, part of the reason we talk about this team giving up fourth quarter leads was because the secondary was giving up a lot of big plays down the stretch. And those issues weren't just exclusive to just the other guys not named Marlon Humphrey. Sometimes it happened to Hump himself too. And it happened to Roquan. So...
And wait for the season to start.
Microsoft Excel's favorite player, Roquan Smith. You know what I mean?
That's true. We do need to give Sonny the floor to respond because you guys. By the way, we should let the fans know.
I forgot about
Sonny wasn't here last week.
Sonny wasn't there for that show.
He wasn't here for that show and didn't get to watch it live. So he watched it afterwards. And all of a sudden, the rest of us, because Sonny's still over in the UK, we just get these random DMs at 3 a.m. of Sonny being like, I'm so effing mad right now. This show's got me heated.
Because it was look, oh my God. I was telling my wife, I went to her, I'm seething right now. I'm listening to this BS here. And they're talking about Rowe like he's a second like it's nobody, right? And Ace, I don't want to take too much out of this, but when A started saying but look, how much they believe in PQ, they didn't even give him a contract, and I'm like, yo, what is this really what the argument is? Is this really none of our teams have let a good player go because of different salary constraint because it's a cap?
No.
And
it was because they didn't exercise his option.
But the option is 12 mil. The option is above average of a player.
But they gave
a good
Roquan.
Yeah, but Rowe is an all pro linebacker. He was an first team all pro.
That was a pretty good discount.
I get that. I'll just somebody guess how many spots above Pat Queen on PFF was Roquan Smith ranked.
I just love, by the way, that Sonny was all pissed off last week, and I had nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing to do with it.
I was mad. Okay?
Sonny and I have certainly gotten into it on this show, but last week, Sonny and I.
Hey, Hey, by the way, Raven fans, when you buy a Roquan Smith jersey, you get 2 years of Microsoft Excel for free. That's what you get right there.
I'm buying. You know what? I'm buying the jersey, and I'm gonna use it on this show.
Wasn't there Pat Queen trade rumors earlier this year? Did that happen?
They were.
Yeah, there was
at
at the
some
draft
point.
time.
Yeah,
I mean, the Ravens wanted to trade him. Nobody wanted to get him. But, it was a trade rumor.
Well, and you don't know what they were trying to
Yeah,
get
I mean,
for him.
I know. I'm just fucking around.
You didn't know what they were. Look, there's the one argument that I seen a lot of Bengals fans made. That is a good argument. That not on talent wise, but on bang for your buck, right? Bang for your buck. You can argue what a lot of Bengals fans are saying online. They're like, "Oh, I got these 2 players for the price of 1." Right, so we're getting more bang for buck. That's a good argument, but that was not the argument of the show, right? We're not taking consideration how much X player is being paid. It's about
do
the
you
room.
think Pat Quinn is better than Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt?
I
You
think
think
the
he's better than
combination.
either
No. I think the combination
of Roquan and Pat Quinn is better than.
Is better than-
Exactly. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I think.
I
I
also
think,
agree with that. By the
like,
way.
But for
like,
me,
like if
we
you
got-
Roquan ain't been the same since he changed his number for 58. I'm gonna just put that out there.
like for me, Rowe is 1, and then Wilson and Pratt, and then you can put Queen at 4. But Rowe being an all pro, I think carries him to the number 1 spot. But for me, the crazy thing is they were talking. I don't want to name names, but they're talking like Rowe was, it's just a dude over there in a corner.
Hold on. And can I bring up something else? I want to bring up something else because I once went on a Twitter space a year ago, okay, and said that Logan Wilson is good, not great, right? Would I put him in like a top 10? Maybe not really. And I got boom roasted by every Bengals fans. Then the Bengals didn't even pay him like a top 10 linebacker.
No.
Okay, no one's mad at the Bengals for disrespecting Logan Wilson for not paying him like a top 10 player. I mean, if you think this guy's a top 10 player, you got to pay him like that.
An average linebacker.
And yeah, I mean, they paid him like he's some kind of scrub package, not even every down guy. I mean, what are we doing?
Everybody's wondering how we're going to keep everybody. You got to take some discounts, dog.
All I'm saying is, boy, when I watch the Ravens play, I don't be like, damn, man, 18 all over the field. That's all I'm saying.
No, this year you're going to see 0.
That is I mean, Q, I can just tell you right now.
I don't know.
That is
Wait.
not the soundbite that you want.
Look, if I'm wrong, I'll sit on it, and it'll just become a thing, and we'll make money off of it. But if I'm right,
this is how videos get made, dude. This is how videos get made.
You gotta play the game. Tony, you gotta play the game. Sometimes you gotta have a take that allows you to get a video made about you, and sometimes you get takes that you make the video about. I'm willing to play the game, and I'm saying it. I'm saying what the rest of America doesn't want to say. Roquan Smith bit overrated. He overrated. He just all pro by default. We just be saying that. What's the one stat category he's elite in? He ain't elite in TFLs, interceptions, pass breakups. What, total tackles? That's it. That's what we talking about. Tackles? Nah. I said it. I doubled down. I got the opportunity not to double down. And you know what? I doubled down on the double down. I squatted down on this. Raven fans, be mad, but show me where Roquan's elite. Show me.
He's plenty elite, but
he's been elite at eating this summer. Roquan's a little heavy right now.
Nah,
damn, I ain't go there. All I'm saying is, I just feel like Roquan cool. He a good linebacker. He ain't this all pro.
Roquan is on his generation. He's on his James Harden. He's on his James Harden this offseason.
Nah.
This is very bad. This is
Look, wait for this. This is all you're gonna see. 0 all over the floor, or all over the field.
Wait, he changed his number to 0 too?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah, Tony, you supporting this?
No, I want to read the rankings. I want to.
You still all pro?
Hold on. I mean, what
you still all pro?
You want to talk about squandering talent? This is one of the biggest squanders of talent I've seen.
Oh, look, everybody in the chat be like, "Oh, Quincy's wrong. He's showing his football IQ." Tell me what he's elite in. Then I ask some very specific questions. I expect these specific answers. Tell me what he's elite in. All I hear is how good Roquan Smith is at linebacker. What's he good at?
I mean, he's the captain of the football field.
What's that mean? Christian Quincy a captain?
Look. I think. Wait. Look. You can see the difference when Roquan got into the Ravens, right? You can see how much that defense changed. Like completely.
It's all vibes. That's what I'm saying. Everything's a vibe. When he came in, this is how I used to talk about Baker.
Roquan. I mean, if you want to know what Roquan is elite at, I mean, he's a
tackle machine.
He's a tackle machine, and that's right. And by the way, he had 63 stops, just third in the league of all linebackers.
Who's first?
Olukun or whatever his name is from Jacksonville.
He's better.
Okay, let's go back to corners. Let's go back to corners because we're gonna just be here for like an hour.
I love it. We are gonna be here for a while. By the way,
Go ahead, Sonny.
Oh wow.
Okay, so Q had the Ravens at 3.
I gotta set up my stuff for the season. You know what I mean? Like I gotta make this season interesting some way somehow.
You're in the preseason. Okay, so for me, number 3, and 3 and 2 for me are like I cannot decide between 3 and 2. So I'm gonna go with 3 with the Bengals. Cheeto coming out of the injury. Caleb
Taylor Britt.
Taylor Britt, yeah. Taylor Britt. I think Taylor Britt might be good, maybe not. I think he had his moment, but he was a rookie, right? I do love Turner. I would say Turner has the potential to be a really good corner.
Turner got cooked today, though.
I mean, he will. That's part of being a corner.
He got cooked.
That's part of being a corner. I think Turner could be good, and I think the Bengals again, with the youth of the two guys, they're setting up well. I think Cheeto, because Cheeto, this is the last year of Cheeto, right?
Yeah, this is Cheeto's contract here.
Yeah, I think there's a big possibility that you don't see Cheeto coming back. Everybody, players need to be signed, especially if the two guys play like they're hoping they play. Especially Caleb Britt. Turner, he might take a backseat. It's similar to Porter, right? Just learning and then eventually contributing. You can see Taylor Britt's flashing last year. He has some flashes that you can see. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, I gotta run. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. You can see flashes of him being his progression.
Shut down corner, like Stephon Diggs.
I wouldn't call it shut down corner, but you can see some flashes. And again, they had the opportunity to have those 3, right? They had the opportunity to have those 3 this year. And then, like I said, I don't think Cheeto moving forward. And then you have Hilton. Hilton doesn't die over there in the slot. It's this dude, and he finds ways to make plays in every game. I think they're a solid unit. There's questions of having 2 young guys, and then a guy that I love what he did coming to the Bengals, Cheeto, right? And what people don't realize, we attribute so much about Burrows of that turning for the Bengals, and rightfully so. Burrow's an excellent player, right? But at the same time, people forget that Cheeto and Reader, they were coming at the same time, and then they helped form the defense that the Bengals had, right? So if Cheeto goes back to the form that he had pre-injury, then I can see this group being number 1, right?
Yeah, they got him too.
So, but for now, flip up a coin between 3 and 2. I feel a little bit more comfortable with the other team, but yeah, that's what I have 3.
Yeah, I got the Ravens at number 3, dog. After Marlon Humphrey, there's just too many question marks for me. When you talk about Caillou Kelly Blue, I don't even know who that is.
That's a rookie, 6th-round pick. Rookie, he ain't gonna play.
For me, like as much as we talk bad about Marcus Peters and kind of take shots on him, he was a pretty solid number 2 corner, right? Because you had Marlon Humphrey that could play inside and outside, which he could still do. But then you also had Marlon Humphrey where if you took a chance, he could kind of burn you on some of those plays, whether it was getting an interception or, making a mistake on the double move. But Marcus Peters was still a formidable number 2. As far as who they have now, that's been my question mark for them the entire offseason. Not only did they lose him, they also lost their pretty good slot corner that couldn't stay healthy. And so there's 2 openings there for them where they're going to have 2 starters coming in. And this is a situation where I feel like they're probably going to make a trade during the season. They can't walk into this season with their number 2 and number 3 corners looking like that. I think at some point, the Ravens always make a big trade. You saw Roquan last year. I think that my prediction is they probably trade for a better corner in the season. But if I'm looking at it from a depth standpoint, they may have the worst depth in the division. They have the best corner, arguably. You can say between him and Denzel, whichever way you want to take it. I think Marlon is a little bit more consistent based off of the year that Denzel had last year. But I would say they have the best corner, but they may have the worst room, if that makes sense. When you talk about 2 through 4 or 3 or whatever, it's just a lot of question marks for them, which is why I have them at 3 with the Ravens.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's you said you had the Ravens at 3?
I've got the Ravens at 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dog, they really doing this. I just opened the DM. the 8 cent on Twitter.
You thought I was lying. I wasn't lying. No,
that's just a bad angle.
That is not Photoshop.
Okay, so you want me to get my number 2?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah, I have the Ravens 2.
Yeah, yes, open it too.
Yeah.
This is stretch. This is stretch.
Now you gotta retweet it. You gotta retweet it. So
this is just pure hatred of the Browns here. Yeah. Like this is like pure bias here by Tony.
Speaking of breaking
hold
news. Real quick.
We finally signed Shelby Harris?
Yep. Browns finally reached a 1-year deal with Shelby Harris.
Video will be out in the morning because I gotta let that other video live because it's gonna do well with the algorithm. So y'all get a video in the morning.
Go ahead, Tony.
No, yeah, I have the Ravens 2. Now, as I said, like the most talented team to me in the division is the Browns, but I'm gonna dock them for coaching. I think for the Ravens, this might be the least talented room. Like, quite honest, look, there's a world where I probably wouldn't trade. I'll say this: I would not straight up. I would not trade the Steelers room for the Ravens room right now. Straight up, I wouldn't do it. But I do think, like, obviously, look, I'm not, and that's not me trying to downplay Marlon Humphrey and how good he is, because obviously, not only is he good, but he's extremely versatile. We forget like all those years with Marlon where like they had no inside corner, so they just had to move him inside a bunch, and he was fully capable of doing that. I'm not a Rock Ya-Sin fan, never have been. Even coming out of college, I was not a fan of Rock Ya-Sin.
You like him for Temple?
No, and what's funny is that the Steelers were pretty interested in him that year. But I look at this Ravens team and like it's just so well coached. And again, I like the thing that they're going to do well is they're going to put these guys in situations to do well. You look at how bad that secondary was last year, especially at the beginning of the year, and then how well they played at the end of last year. Right? We talked about how well that defense played. I mean, that defense held the Bengals in check in that playoff game, and they were doing that week in and week out. Right? I mean, they couldn't do it to Kenny, but everybody else they did it to. As far as holding people in check. I had to get that. So I think, look, I think this is a unit that I think is going to play well right now. And if I'm trying to project out what units are going to be the best, for me, obviously I have the Bengals 1, but for me, it's the Bengals are going to have the best unit, then the Ravens, then the Browns, then the Steelers. Obviously, there's an argument to be made that the Browns have the most talented unit and certainly have a more talented unit than the Ravens. I just think when it comes to product in the field, the Ravens are going to make it work. And there are still open questions about how much different Jim Schwartz is going to make this unit versus what they had last year.
All right, let's go.
Hater. Hater. That's all I heard was hating. Y'all had the nerve to say what I was saying about Roquan Smith was hating. That's nothing. I think the Browns have the more talented room, the better players, but they the Browns, so 3. That's pretty much what Tony did. That's what Tony just did right there. Yeah. There's no reason he should ever do that. Except they wear them orange helmets and 3. That's what just happened there.
And you know what? That's called being a fan, not an analyst. Okay, that's called being a fan, not an analyst. All right.
I'm glad you're having fun.
I am. I'm having a great time.
Yeah, I have to put the Browns here at 2. Look, there's no questioning that the Browns have a talented room. There's no questioning that when the Browns room plays at its potential, they're the best room in the division, if not one of the better rooms in the conference, right? Like the one room that has been able to give issues to the Bengals has been the Browns. Also, the one room that made the excuse that Jamar Chase and Tyler and T. Higgins didn't play, so it really messed up our game plan, is the Cleveland Browns. And this is what makes it complicated, right? Is because that take from last year is bad. It's so bad. It's bad on the whole defense. And I talk about this to my audience all the time. People say, hey, look, talent-wise, this should be a top 5 defense. And that might be something that you could say, but you got to look at what they did last year. There are bad habits that they picked up, especially in that secondary, that just aren't going to go away, right? For whatever reason, John Johnson and Denzel Ward could not run any kind of combo coverage at all that whole year. Like those two happen to like do any kind of combination all year. Two Pro Bowl players just could not get it together. They were an absolute disaster on their side. I don't think that disappears, right? Denzel's still going to have some issues because like there's clearly some trust that isn't there. I don't know if we get the full Denzel Ward back, to be honest with you. The question is Denzel Ward really the best corner on this team anymore?
Newsom?
Some are saying it's Martin Emerson right now. You know what I mean? Some are saying it's been Martin Emerson in camp and that Denzel's not playing bad. Martin just looks better. But again, talented. That's all there and good. But I don't know. With Greg Newsom, we got a year of slot tape with him. It wasn't great, especially when he had to go out there and run fits. So what do you do with that, right? How do I project Greg? Do I just go back to what he was his rookie year? Do I expect him to kind of grow? Like there's a lot of question marks about this secondary, and they played bad last year. So I can't put them against the secondary that performed the best last year in the Cincinnati Bengals, but I can put them ahead of Pittsburgh and Baltimore because I think on talent alone, like I'm sorry. I would rather have the questionable but very talented defensive back room than the other two defensive back rooms that aren't disasters, but they just aren't as talented. The upside isn't there, especially in a pass-oriented league. So that's why I put the Browns there too. They could play terrible. I'm aware of this. I have seen it go bad with the secondary, but also they could play at a high level. I expect them to be a little bit inconsistent. Some weeks they're going to look like the best defensive back room in the NFL. Some weeks I'm going to be pretty frustrated here talking about some of these third and fourth quarters of these games. I fully anticipate it, but the talent is there. And I would rather be in the position the Cleveland Browns are in, where you're worried about very talented, very accomplished players unlearning some bad habits than, trying to learn the name of the guy who plays corner after Rocky Sin on the Ravens. So that's just where I would be at. I don't know why this is I'm being spicy towards the Ravens episode. I don't know what happened. You know what I mean?
It was the row.
It was the row quad. Y'all got me activated. I was peaceful at the beginning of this. Y'all brought up row.
Yeah, for me, I'm surprisingly here. I'm actually going to put the Bengals number 2. And the reason why for that would be Cheeto's injury, right? Because, I would be, you guys know that I take injuries into account. So I don't think that, Cheeto's going to lose a step or anything, but I have to see him back out there on the field. Now, he's recovered pretty well, but still that's something to be seen there. But I do like what they did with the cornerback room this offseason. Cam Taylor-Britt, I'm going to read some of his stats from the playoff game. Like early on, I still remember the Browns game. He got torched in the Browns game. He got thrown in. Cheeto goes out with the injury. He's thrown into the fire out there with Eli Apple. Martin Cooper lights him up. And as the season went on, he just started to get more confident, started making more plays, was an extremely good tackling corner, especially when it came to coming up and land hits on people. Some people were calling him Cam Taylor hit, but I really saw the evolution of him in coverage when the playoffs started. So in his first playoff game against Baltimore, 0 yards allowed, 0 receptions. Against Buffalo, guarding Stephon Diggs, he completely shut him down, only allowed 3 receptions on 20 yards. When he played Kansas City, he only allowed 1 reception for 13 yards. I'm not saying that he's going to be the next best corner in this division, but I think he's going to be a hell of a number 2. I'm actually pretty excited to see him play this season. He's been going up against Chase with Cheeto being out. Now, obviously, Chase is cooking everybody, but he's learning some things from Chase with being able to get that matchup with him. And then when you go to some of the other corners in this room, we were talking about DJ Turner. I actually like DJ Turner when I did my projections based off of the Bengals' history to prime grade. DJ Turner was the number one guy. DJ Turner, I think, has the tools. He just has to be molded to be a good corner. And I think here he can do that because he's got the speed, 4.2. He's always in position. He just needs to learn how to finish. Sorry, my camera's going out of focus. How to finish a little bit better and deflect and things like that. But I think he has a ton of potential. I mean, this kid just a couple of weeks ago was probably on the third team defense. Now he's out there with the ones. So I think that he's got some promise. Mike Hilton is he's a Swiss Army knife. He's a guy that can do blitzing, or he had another kind of patented like interception on the snap today against Jordan Love, similar to what he did against the Titans. Now, sometimes, like Tony has said, and I'll give Tony that credit, sometimes he's not the best person to put in coverage, which is why I like what they did with adding to this corner room and adding depth, because a lot of people originally thought, hey, you could throw DJ Turner out there in the slot. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. A guy that's underrated in the slot, that some Bengals fans either like him or they hate him because they can't understand how this guy is still on the team, is Jalen Davis. They signed him to a 2-year extension. He's been basically like the Mike Hilton 2.0 after Mike Hilton goes out. So they really like him. And then when you talk about some of the veterans that they've added to the room as well, they kind of went away from Eli Apple, right? Eli Apple was solid for them, but they felt the need. Cam Taylor-Britt actually was the Eli Apple replacement. He got hurt early, then Eli had to play, and then they ended up playing together because of Cheeto. But they brought in Sidney Jones, who isn't amazing, right? But he's at least a veteran guy where it's kind of the whole reason that we brought Eli Apple in. He was supposed to be just a solid cornerback for a guy that can come in a pinch, start sometimes. You don't want him to be your majority of the time starter. So I'm going to throw Sidney Jones in there, which who knows if he makes the room, because from what I've been hearing out of camp, the kid that we got out of Miami, DJ Ivy, has been turning heads, which is crazy to me because, you know, from what I heard from Miami fans, they were just trashing the guy. So I'm assuming that this guy is going to be bad, and he's been having interceptions here or there. He's gotten to the point where he's gotten some reps against Jamar Chase at some points. And then you got Alan George, who was the undrafted kid from last year that made the roster. He was pretty solid. He actually got in at times. So you could argue that the Bengals room is maybe 4 or 5 deep potentially. But the reason that I have to go with the other team at number 1 is because all of them were healthy last year. They may have had some down years, but they're getting that. And I'll get into more of that once I get into my number 1, but I'll give my reasonings for why I have that team number 1. Let's toss it to Sonny.
Yeah, I have the Ravens here too. So for me, the Ravens, they have a lot of unknowns, and I understand people don't know a lot of these players. Everybody knows about Marlon. Marlon's the main guy at this room for a while now. But then, yeah, Rodgerson, he's a solid corner. He's nothing like crazy. He's solid. The question is for the Ravens, right? We drafted a couple corners the year before. And the Ravens have always, you think about Anthony Avery, you think about some of these guys that take a couple years and then you see them playing more and more snaps. Armour Davis, which is the other guy, number 5, he got injured last year. But when he played on week 2. Was it 2 or 3 when we played against Miami? Marlon left that game for a little bit, and then I think Peters also left that game for a little bit. And as a rookie, he got thrown there. I like Armour Davis coming out of college, but he got torched. That was the game that we lost to Miami. Everybody knows who well. The lead, he was out of position a lot. 2 of those touchdowns, it was him being out of position, getting caught looking at backfield, and then Ty Hill was just somewhere there, the cheetah in the universe, catching a deep ball. So the rumor is in camp he's looking way better. Now camp for me is, is camp, but for what it's worth, he's looking better. And then the slot, because I know some of you guys brought it up, Ardarius Washington's a guy that I love coming out of college too. I love him coming out of college. He used to be a safety. We have been using as a slot corner, and he has played well slot. And then Paper Williams, also rookie last year, another slot corner. I think the Ravens right now, what I see is they have a lot of depth into these players. No name, I get that. But they're not top heavy, right? Like none of these guys are high draft picks, which obviously that's usually how people recognize your room. Bengals obviously had Cheeto, which I think was the second overall pick. Plus, obviously Cheeto's established, so he has played well. KBT was he a first or second round? He was a first, right?
CTB was Cheeto was second round and Cam Taylor Britt was second round as well.
Okay, and then
DJ Turner second round as well.
So all second round versus our guys are fourth and fifth round picks. So a lot more unknowns with them, but I think Tony hit something that I think with the Ravens, they do put these guys in good positions to succeed. Last year at the beginning, that wasn't the case. I think a lot of people getting hurt earlier, people playing earlier than what they were expecting did not help. But as the year went through, you can see the guys playing in better positioning. I think the Ravens have a lot of growth to happen. Would I be surprised if they make a trade? No. It seems this never happened under Ozzy, but with the new GM, with the new regime, they seem to have always one biggish trade every year, right? And corner could be the one this year. Anyway, I think the Ravens are two. Like I said, for me, them and the Bengals were a flip of a coin. I can see the Ravens going 3, easy. The Bengals can go all the way to 1. I said the two young guys that they hit can be number 1. But yeah, that's why I have a number 2.
One other thing on the Ravens and why this is such a hard thing to rank, right? Because again, we're talking about raw talent. It's different from how you actually think the room is gonna go. The Ravens, going back to like the Ravens and how well they have people play. Remember, 2 years ago they had to play Anthony Averett for a while. Anthony Averett in that season was like fun. He wasn't great, and there were certainly moments, I'm sure, for Baltimore that they'd love to have back. But like you look at what he did that year, he was solid. He was a solid player. You look at what he did last year with Vegas when he went to a place that's a little the worst coaching there. He was awful in Vegas last year, right? I mean, lasted 1 year. I think he's with I don't know who he's with now, but anyway, regardless, like look at his numbers when he went from Baltimore that 1 year to what he did in Vegas last year, where he couldn't even stay on the field. That I think is such a big part of, and we'll talk about this.
Marcus Peters.
Marcus Peters is another great example, right? Where it's like, here's this feast or famine guy, but he had his best seasons were at the end of his career there in Baltimore. I mean, last year, I don't think, last year maybe being his,
he was solid. Yeah, he was solid, but the previous two, he was definitely better.
He was good, yeah.
All right, so that brings us to number 1. Let's start with Sonny first. Sonny, who you got?
I mean, we alluded a couple of these things, but the Browns' talent, like they could potentially have one of the best tandems in the league. I love Miami's tandem with Howard and Ramsey, but the Browns could have similar type of tandem, right? Like a 2 Pro Bowl corners. Question is positioning. I know Tony was hammering there in coaching. 3, okay.
3 yeah. There you go.
Amigos.
That's how they do the Bengals. Now we a trio.
Week 1 it's on because that's the only week Denzel Ward gonna be fully healthy.
And that's always the question with Denzel, right? Denzel is good to miss a couple of games every year. I don't know. I think I have more faith, I guess, than Tony on coaching. I think the coaching will be better, and you will hope that the talent, if you guys are really that talented, right, plus a little bit better coaching, the hope is there's a little bit there's a bounce back year. These guys are too talented to be back-to-back year. Now, if they go back-to-back years with similar performance, then you have to look sideways and be like, okay, so something is definitely wrong here. So for now, that's why I keep the Browns here at 1. I think the Browns have one of the top talent-wise cornerback rooms in the whole league. They haven't performed to their talent. And I think this is a key year to see can they bounce back. The coach was changed, right? So hopefully Schwartz can have a better scheme for the talent that they have over there in Cleveland. But now if they don't perform for a second year in a row, And definitely there's questions to be asked about, okay, are these corners really that talented? What's going on here? I don't think that's the case. That's why I keep them. That's what I'm ranking them 1, because I think they are going to bounce back and they're going to be one of the top cornerback rooms in the league.
All right. Before I toss it to Q, I'm going to go through some of these super chats here. And then we'll toss it to Tony, and then I'll end it out. One as a dad,
that's big.
for $2. Says Joey Porter.
There's
is
so
the
much
next
wrong with this super chat.
Revis/Sanders.
Like Marlon? Waynes? I know you ain't talking about Humphrey. Like, come on, man. We ain't got to go all the way. We ain't got to go all the way. Marlon Humphrey ain't going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's really good, though. Can Joey Porter just get good? Can we just hey, Joey Porter's going to be really good. Can we just, and then not bring up Deion?
Really good. Really good. Like, Deion was really good.
Like his dad. Dad was really good. Not a Hall of Famer, but really good. Maybe a Ring of Famer.
His dad may end up getting in the Hall of Fame as a senior.
Would Joe Hayden get into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, Sonny, how they do the senior,
I hate that. I hate that.
Time, but then eventually they let you in.
I don't even want to think about that, because the day that Joey Porter is one of them dudes that nobody cheers for when he gets into the Hall of Fame because everybody at the game is too old to remember him playing, and I remember Joey Porter, that's the day I know I'm close to death. It's what it is.
Got another one here from Hello FR for $2. Number 3 line, number 4 edge, number 3 linebacker, number 3 cornerback, number 3 safety. How are they the number 1 defense?
We haven't talked about safety.
I didn't put him
number 3 safety. Yes.
Number 3.
Whoever this guy is, we can be friends. Number 3 safety room, Sonny.
He's talking about the Ravens, I'm assuming.
Yeah, he's talking about the Ravens. And number 3 safety room is correct.
I gotta shout out Hello for real, because he is dedicated to this hating. This is the 3rd super chat in a row, in the 3rd show in a row that he sent to push this agenda out. So you know what? At least he believes it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Ty Kendall for $5 says it's still crazy that the Bengals are paying 2 linebackers half as much as the Ravens are paying 1.
And both of them are better than the one they paying.
Oh no.
People for $2 says Roquan is not an all-pro. He is very mid, not top 10.
I'm doing a dangerous thing, baby. Let's go.
Oh my God. Yo, can we clip some of this and just send it to bro?
I did not say this.
You gotta hire an editor.
Spread my agenda to the masses. Preach the word out.
Who do you guys play week 1, Sonny?
The Texans, right? Yep.
Okay.
Y'all gonna have a good game versus the Texans, and people gonna be beating their chest. Oh, see, he's elite.
Wait, who do you play week 2?
Here.
Bengals. Oh wow, week 2
for the Bengals. Week 2 is gonna be a bad week for the Roquan agenda, ain't it?
I tell you what.
So Terrell Williams.
Well, no, Joe Burrow loves to throw interceptions to all pros. So
Roquan ain't getting one.
Says, gotta admit, Sonny, Wilson and Pratt for a price on the row is nasty. And now that you are here, can you answer Q's question? Name a Roquan.
Name a highlight. I love the name. I love the name a highlight. Listen, if you can't name one good play.
I mean, Rowe got to Baltimore in that first game. He made an interception. One thing that surprised me when Rowe got to Baltimore was, and I don't want to say it because I know what Tony's gonna say after I say this, but. Mm-hmm. The ability of intercepting on the linebacking position that Rowe had.
Just a coverage, you guys.
The pick up the wheel route guy? Is that what he is?
He's good in coverage, way better than I expected.
Well, hold on, Q. Be fair now, okay?
Yeah, Najee Harris is one of the best receiving backs in the NFL, right?
Hold on. Sonny's always maintained that Najee Harris is one of the best athletes at running back. He's a hard guy to keep up with. So,
he's a bum.
He's a bum. He's a bum.
He's a bum.
And Roquan couldn't cover him, but he all pro. I'm just saying, dog. I'm just saying.
Okay.
It's a great quarterback with a great throw to a great running back.
What's the highlight, Sonny? What's the highlight?
Worst running back on the Steelers was he could have shut down the worst running back on the Steelers.
Oh, the shirt came off.
No, the shirt hasn't off. But no, I was gonna say, go back and watch that play because that's all I remember was Kenny Pickett the great. He
Appreciate
rolled
that.
to the left.
Kenny Pickett
He
the
rolled-
great. What?
Appreciate
and-
that. Appreciate
and
that.
play. In that play, go back and watch that play. He rolled left
I've
and
watched it.
escaped pressure. I
Mhm.
believe it was something in goal, maybe from the 5 or something like that. I can't remember.
Logan
And
Wilson would never.
Rowe was there,
Never.
right? And Rowe basically had the moment that either rushes Kenny, because Kenny looked like he was gonna run for it, right? And he had Najee cover. So he stops and he like takes like 1 or 2 steps towards Kenny, and then when he sees Kenny's gonna throw, he pushed back, and
Yeah.
Kenny made a great throw. I think what Bro was expecting was, if I'm gonna do this, somebody has to help on the other side, because it was, you're caught in no man's land in that point.
The thing
Well,
with
bad coaching.
Roquan, if we're gonna be fair to Roquan on that play, which we're not, because that was Roquan's worst play. But if we're gonna be fair to Roquan, he had to be thinking, because he starts playing trail at some point, right? And he kind of, but then he just has to be thinking like, there's no way Kenny's gonna make that. Like, there's no way Kenny's gonna make this throw, right? And you're right, Sonny. Probably what was going through his mind is he's more likely to run than throw it to Najee right now. But still,
That's crazy, because if he was a plus athlete, everybody say he is, he should be able to cover both areas of the field, because he's that plus of an athlete. Sounds like an average linebacker to me.
Also, can we
making average
check-
decisions on the football field. You know what I mean?
Someone clip
can't
that when he
wait.
said Kenny made a
Shaq
great
Leonard
play.
would never.
Can someone clip that when we say Kenny made a great play? Because he's right.
Hey.
He's right about
My
that.
favorite tweet was
That's all I
a
want.
Ravens
No,
fan.
you know Roquan's average when you got to give Kenny Pickett credit. Like, that's just all I'm saying. Like, you know what I mean?
A Ravens fan tweeted me, and they were like, Roquan would never. And it was like Logan Wilson getting called for a flag while he's guarding Cooper Kupp. And I had to cue up the Najee clip.
Roquan would never.
Well, hold on. Not to listen.
They
let's not
would,
give-
you know what, though? They're right, though, Ace, because they would never trust Roquan in coverage versus Cooper Kupp. But they do trust Logan Wilson.
Well, where
That's what I'm
listen,
saying. That's what I'm saying.
I just want to ask Bengals fans, where were all their heroes on that defense? Where was Mike Hilton? Where was Awuzie? Where was anybody when they let Mitch Trubisky drive down the field late in overtime and score? So, again, I saw Jesse Bates miss.
I will say, Tony, I did try to warn the rest of them about Kenny Pickett when you guys had that close game with us. I was like, Kenny not that bad, dog. Kenny's not
That's
too
right.
bad.
That's right.
Not too bad.
Appreciate
Somebody
that.
saying
That
Roquan.
I saw that.
Started a nasty agenda on this show.
Still have
I
a
saw
top
that.
10 defense of all time. We proved it. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, bro.
Top 10 defense of all time.
Top 10 of all time is crazy. Ty Kendall for $5. CTB in the playoffs was different. 6 catches for 60 yards and a pick. Oh yeah, he did pick Josh Allen. I forgot that. If he can keep that up, we'll be number 1.
Can I ask a question of Bengals fans? As long as we're going to do the small sample size stuff, do we want to redo the quarterback rankings? As long as we're just going to do small sample sizes when we're talking about players, you want to talk about quarterback rankings again or not? just wondering if we're willing to do small.
By the
sample
way,
sizes.
I'm gonna amend my defensive tackle ranking now that we have Shelby Harris, and I've seen Siaki Ika in one preseason game. Oh yeah, they're the number 1 defensive tackle room in the NFL at this point. Siaki Ika was plugging them up in the third quarter of that Hall of Fame game, dog. You know what I mean?
That third quarter.
He wasn't waddling; he was plugging in the third quarter of a Hall of Fame game.
Yeah, exactly.
Here for $1.99 says thanks for the entertainment, Tony Uday.
Appreciate that.
Drew Norton here, $10 super chat. Shout out to Tony. Going to miss you on the show. Some of the best ad reads and worst takes. Canada getting that.
Appreciate both of them.
Go
good.
Brian.
Hey, he'll be a coach and head. He'll be a head coach of a high school team before you know it. Don't just give it time.
Does he know
Homer
Cliff
for
Kingsbury? He
$1.99.
might become a head coach.
Look at this slander. This is cute.
Roquan equals Anthony.
This is cute. This is cute. The slander.
Anthony Walker had a better PFF grade. All I'm saying.
Says Terrell Williams for $2. Even Hendrickson had a pass deflection on Najee Harris. This is nasty. Nasty.
The other thing that Ravens fans like to do on that play.
I'm so glad I started this.
Yikes!
I'm so glad I spoke my truth.
I need all my Ravens fans to clip all that shit and just send it to Ro. Okay? More motivation.
What Roquan gonna do? Be 5th in the league in tackles? Oh, he gonna get us. You know what I mean?
He'll show. In week
He about to
2,
be-
and I don't even know when we play the Browns.
I haven't seen. Did Roquan play in that last game versus the Browns in December?
Yeah, probably.
He
Yeah,
should have.
he was there.
Should have.
He didn't miss any games.
That's all I'm saying. Look, the Browns didn't beat the Bengals. They didn't beat the Steelers, but somehow he was able to beat the best linebacker in all football. All I'm saying, I guess they both got better linebackers.
He beat the team.
All right, Q, it's on you, man.
We beat the Ravens defense.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's on you, Q.
What for number one?
Yes, sir.
I'm just saying, does Roquan Smith have a highlight tackling Nick Chubb? Because I'm pretty sure they ain't happening. Yeah, show me that highlight, chat. Show me that. Show me the Nick Chubb stopper. Show me it. Show me it. I'm pretty sure I got 18 falling off of 24 somewhere. No. Yeah, but number one here is the Cincinnati Bengals. They just performed so well over the last few years that I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt. We're going to factor in coaching here. That I think the coaching has been excellent on this part of the ball. I think the secondary has played well as a unit. Every year we're like, oh, this is going to be the year the Bengals going to pay for it. Oh, this is going to be the year where they're going to have to do this and that. And every year somebody else steps up. They had a couple draft picks that I like. Jordan Battle's going to be a safety for y'all, right? Or is he playing corner?
Yeah, Jordan Battle's going to be a safety.
Okay, y'all got DJ Turner in the second round, a prospect that I liked a lot. So I think that they'll be able to plug those pieces in. You add that on top of Cam Taylor-Britt, who I think played well at the tail end of the season last year, and Cheeto, who's going to be coming back from injury. I think they're going to be a really good unit. They're going to find a way to play together, even without Jesse Bates. Well, not the whole last year, but like during parts of it. It was a weird situation they had going on at safety. They were still able to put together some of the best corner play in the division. I expect that to continue again. They're not more talented than the Browns, but they're more consistent, and consistency is everything in the secondary, right? You would rather have a consistent one at times, especially when your consistency is as high as the Bengals has been. So gotta put them at one.
All right, Tony.
Yeah, Bengals are one for me as well, for pretty much all the same reasons, right? I mean, like, look, this is an interesting group overall, corner and safety, I mean the entire secondary. If there's going to be an unraveling of the Bengals this year, I won't use the R word, but let's say that they didn't do as well
the
this
R
year.
word.
You did not learn that lesson.
I didn't say a damn thing.
You didn't say it. Now what?
Let's say that they're not as good this year as they were last year. I think it would be because of the secondary, right? I mean, I think there are some open questions here. How does Awuzie come back from injury? You know, how does Cam Taylor-Britt do as a full, with a full season now to be the starter? How much can DJ Turner contribute early on? Then obviously there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff we'll talk about with the safety room next year, because that's, I mean, you want to talk about an overhaul. I mean, we got the whole new unit. But last time we saw Awuzie, he was still playing at a high level, right? I mean, I think Awuzie, when he came in for the Bengals, I think everyone was shocked by just how good he was. And the question going into last year was like, well, can he stay at that level? And look, I don't know that he was at the same level he was year over year, but he was still really good, right? I mean, it wasn't like, it didn't look like that first year with the Bengals was some sort of outlier year for him. Cam Taylor-Britt, I think they'll probably make something work at the outside corner. And here's why. They made Eli Apple work for like 2 years. Okay. I think they'll figure out how to make Cam Taylor-Britt work. I love Mike Hilton. You guys know I love Mike Hilton. Can we just mention real quick the fight that Mike Hilton and OBJ got in this week, which was hilarious. OBJ said, "You guys don't understand. I was going to go for 250. I was going to cook him. I was cooking him. The game plan was all for me, yada, yada," which is funny. I actually, not to be a hater, I do kind of agree with what OBJ was saying. Like,
yeah, he's not lying. He had like 112 in the first half.
he was cooking in that game, and he was going to do well. Now,
he was cooking so much he cooked his ACL off his bones.
250 is where he lost me. When he said 250 was like
250 is crazy. 250, but he might have had like 190 though.
He could have had, he could have. Yeah, I mean, he could have. It was
193.
In the hundreds. He was going to have in the hundreds. Yes, for sure. So anyway, I love Mike Hilton. I think he's such a fun player. Reading the reports today of the practice that they had with the Packers, I think he had a pick six and on like a screen pass, vintage. Mike Hilton around the line of scrimmage is like one of the funnest players in the league to watch. And it sucks that he wears a Bengals uniform now. because I like him so much. He's the best.
You
nickel
miss
corner
it.
to
You
me.
miss it. You miss
I
it.
He's
do.
a great football
Yeah.
player.
I
Yeah.
didn't even
That's why
mention
I'm leaving the show. I'm leaving the show so I can go get my boombox and stand outside Mike Hilton's house to convince him to come back.
Hey, don't forget your trench coat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, Bengals won.
Yep, I got the Browns here just because I think Jim Schwartz can get what they need out of that room. He's going to try to go with a lot of cover 1, cover 3 looks over there. And I think that's going to play to their strengths, right? I think Q pointed it out. Cover 2, not a strength for them last year. So I think he's just going to put them in better opportunities.
Any zone, Ace. Any cover 2, cover 3, 6, 4, cloud. Okay, Tampa 2. There was anything in Madden that got the little clouds on it. They weren't running that shit well, dog.
Any coverage that has more than a 0 in
Cover
it
3,
is
all you got to do is just
The Browns had me mad out here talking about they need to patch the Browns, dog, because clearly zone's broken on the team because we can't run it.
I ain't gonna hold it against them though, because I done got burnt myself in cover 3, didn't turn the hips at the right time. Dude got past me and there was nobody back there. So I get it. I understand, but
You do a lot of this when you get burnt to cover 3. I thought it was 2.
I understand that. I've been there before, but I think that these guys, if you're just going off of the talent, I think the talent and Jim Schwartz is why I'm putting them at number 1, because I think Jim Schwartz is going to get that out of them. You talk about Emerson. I don't think people really realize how good that he was last year. Like when you talk to people outside of Cleveland, because when I was kind of talking about the corners, like Q said, I had Emerson as probably like their second best corner. And there was someone that put out a list with all the AFC North corners. And I was like, nah, Emerson needs to be a little higher on that list than he is. So I think Emerson is definitely a good pickup for them. He's a bigger corner that allows them to do some things. And then you got Greg Newsome. Whether you want to play him in the slot or not, you have that option. If Denzel does go down, like Q was saying, because he has been in and out of the lineup, you still got 2 really good corners there. And then you got 3, which is the trio. And in the NFL, having 3 guys, especially when you're going up against teams like the Bengals, talk about the Seahawks, talk about, the Dolphins and some of these guys that may have 2 or 3 really good receivers. That's very valuable. So I think that they actually possibly, if you're just going off of talent, they probably had the best trio of corners in the NFL, which is why I have the Browns number 1. I think that they'll return to form after having a down year last year. So I got the Browns number 1. But that is going to be a wrap for the show, fellas. Any more Roquan slander, or are we done with Roquan?
Put it in the comments. I'll try to respond to them.
You'll try to respond to the Roquan slander?
Yeah, put it in
Roquan's
the
going to watch this show now. I'm pretty sure Roquan is going to be a watcher of this show. Somebody's going to.
If he hadn't changed his number to 0, I mean, this would be an all-time bad take by you guys. But unfortunately, you are right. He changed his number to 0. And,
he'll give some help. Don't worry.
He'll get some help from who?
No. He will give y'all help.
Oh, he'll give us hell?
Don't worry.
I bet he will. Be it on the opposite side of where Nick Chubb runs and then just go straight through that hole, right there, chasing behind. Hey, he's not going to quit chasing Nick Chubb like Earl Thomas did. You know what I mean? He going to run him down as much as he can until he gets 40 yards. But then he'll still get 40 yards. He'll get the tackle, though. He'll be up there in tackles, though.
He was 3rd in the league in stops.
Stops against who?
That's a good point. Let's see. Did he have stops against the Browns? The Browns offense didn't move the ball very much at the end of last year. They had some quarterback in who wasn't very good, so it's hard
and
to
he
get
still
a read
beat
on
Roquan. You let a rusty bubby quarterback beat Roquan Smith. That's crazy.
He didn't have a good not the greatest quarterback either.
Apparently, he's a Pro Bowler, so he's better than what the Browns had. You know what I mean? What's up with the Ravens and getting all of these false awards on their players? Do they have like an in with the league office?
False awards.
No, they do. Yeah, I mean, remember, do the Ravens have an in with the league office?
They call pro linebackers.
Oh my God!
Do you remember what happened during COVID?
MVPs.
Do you remember what happened during COVID when the Ravens when the Ravens just decided like, hey, we don't want to play today, and the NFL's like, oh, I'm sorry, what day do you want to play? The
Bengals lose a game, and then all of a sudden that turns into the Ravens getting to play in for a home playoff game. Who's in the league office? That is Ozzie Newsome, an operator, an op in the league office? Is that's what's going on right now? Because I just see a lot of fraudulent activity going on in Baltimore. You know what I mean?
You're hating.
Hey, once again, before we get out of here, let me do a shout out to our patrons from Patreon. If you aren't following us on Patreon, definitely be sure to subscribe and become a member there at Patreon. Just search for AFC North Talk. But we got a shout out to Adam Holland, Dom Gazzulo, Louis Cousin, Leo Sell, Ray Rags, Wesley Worrell, and Christian Robb. So we appreciate that. We will be bringing some of that content to you guys. There's going to be some stuff like AFC North Lock of the Week. So don't miss out on that. We'll have some cool stuff to go. We also have, of course, the booty beatdowns. You know how we get down with that.
Every time Najee Harris gets lined up one-on-one with Roquan, it's a booty beatdown. But you just see Najee Harris just rub his hands like, yeah, boy, I'm about to hit him.
Don't worry.
But we will be back next week for Tony's last show. So if you are just now joining us, Tony kind of spoke at the beginning. If you want to go back and rewatch that, feel free to do that. But it will be the last show. So make sure you hit that notification bell. Because if you want to give Tony his flowers or leave any cool super chats for him, it's going to be a dope show. It will be on the safeties, right, fellas? We're doing safety.
Yep.
Right?
Do we let Tony get his walk off into the sun with Mika being number one and all that? Or do Browns, Ravens, and Bengal fans play spoiler?
Yeah. I wonder
and try to ruin this moment for him. Yeah, we'll find out next week.
You guys are all going to put the Steelers 2, and you're going to put the Ravens 1, and that's fine.
Who said the Steelers would be 2?
Oh, good. Good. Yeah, no, Juan Thornhill. I love Juan Thornhill and the work he's done. Yeah. Yeah. And Grant Delpit. Who doesn't love what Grant Delpit put on tape last year? You want to talk about some Grant Delpit? I got some Grant Delpit highlights.
He was a better run stopper than Roquan Smith was last year.
Oh, my God. Okay, shut it down.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in to AFC North Talk. We will see you guys next week
with
the safety show and more AFC North slander. Take care.
Just Roquan slander, not AFC North slander.